Unveiling the incredible fall, the divine, miraculous journey of the angel transformed into Satan, in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in a realm beyond the mortal gaze, before the foundation of the world, there existed the celestial paradise where angels thrummed with the melody of worship. Among them, Lucifer stood radiant and wise, the bearer of light. His beauty was unmatched, his wisdom unparalleled. He basked in the unending glory of God, the creator of all that is seen and unseen. Yet, in this divine splendor, a shadow began to stir within his heart. Why should I not ascend above the stars? He pondered in secret, contemplating his rightful place amidst the thrones of celestial might. As the heavenly chorus rose to song, this intoxicating echo enticed his spirit to dream of power and dominion, whispering promises of an unclaimed throne. His heart, once wholly devoted to worship, began to echo with doubt and ambition, planting the seeds of rebellion. The tension within the radiant realm began to ripple through the fabric of the heavens, a prize sought by Lucifer and a multitude of his brethren whom he led toward treachery. They began to murmur of grandeur that equaled their creator, sowing seeds of discontent. In the vast expanse, the melodies darkened, and the sweet harmony of praise turned bitter. As rebellion escalated, the Most High, with a countenance fierce yet just, summoned forth his heavenly court. Michael, the archangel, stood resolutely against Lucifer's tide of defiance. "You have led many astray, but you shall not prevail against the Lord," he proclaimed. The very air thrummed with divine authority, trembling in the presence of the Almighty, who surveyed the division among his beloved creations with a heart full of both sorrow and righteous anger. "Behold, I cast you down," bellowed the voice of the Almighty, shattering the silence of rebellion as a word swept through the heavens like a tempest. God's decree manifested, and Lucifer's brilliance, once a beacon, flickered into shadow. Stripped of his glory, he and his followers plummeted from the heights, losing their wings and their names. Lucifer became Satan, the adversary, darkness draping the brilliance once seen throughout the heavens, descending to the earth, a place newly fashioned for mankind. Satan roamed in anger, his heart ignited with a lust for vengeance against the Most High's beloved. He hovered in the fertile Garden of Eden, where creation basked in the glow of innocence. Here, he encountered humanity, waiting, lurking, ready to weave his deceit. Did God truly say? His voice would whisper to Eve as she wandered amidst fruits of divine delight, the beauty and light of Eden deceiving her senses. Fascinating shadows crept among the truths, and his words spun a web of temptation, each syllable drifting toward forbidden promise, pulling hearts toward a fragile balance that teetered precariously on the edge of disobedience. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The fate of humanity now stood on the edge of a divine knife. A shadow loomed where light once danced freely. The rebellion's echoes reached the throne of grace, and creation awaited the unfolding of God's master plan. Would the promise of redemption surge forth amidst the shadows? God's sovereignty rested, unyielding, poised to reveal a tapestry of salvation hidden deeper than the darkness of rebellion. A wondrous hope lingered on the horizon, waiting for its appointed time to burst forth into light. As the stillness of the garden hung in the air, the serpent entwined within the branches, his form obscure and beguiling, watched with eyes filled with malice and cunning. Eve, drawn by the allure of knowledge, stood at the crossroads of obedience and temptation. "You shall not surely die," Satan hissed softly, his words dripping with deceit. As he continued to warp the truth spoken by God. With bated breath, creation held its silence. The trees swayed gently, bearing witness to the cosmic struggle unfolding before them. A choice lay before humanity, a choice that would echo through generations. As Eve reached out for the fruit, that which was deemed forbidden, her heart danced with expectancy for the enlightenment promised, yet throbbed with a burgeoning fear. "Is it worth the cost?" echoed in her thoughts, yet the serpent's tones soothed her turmoil. You will be as gods, knowing good and evil. With that, she plucked the fruit, her fingers brushing against its skin, temptation's sweetness flooding her senses. Then came Adam, the keeper of the garden, joining her in the moment of futility and despair. With eyes bearing the weight of choice, he too succumbed. Together they forged their bond to rebellion against their Creator. In that instant, their eyes were opened yet clarity gave way to shame, and they hid their forms among the foliage, trying in vain to escape the profound shift in their very essence. The divine gaze pierced the hidden corners of Eden, where shame and sorrow began to take root. "Where are you?" called the voice of the Lord, reverberating through the thickets of despair, seeking the lost. Adam answered, trembling, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." With divine patience, the Lord questioned, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree which I commanded you not to eat?" The weight of Adam and Eve's transgression hung heavily in the air, a lamentation of broken trust and severed communion, a fracture vast and unrepairable by human means. As they confessed their transgression, God, thrice holy, unveiled the consequences that would ripple through the ages. "Cursed is the ground because of you," he proclaimed, revealing the toll of sin's entrance into creation. "You shall eat of it in toil all the days of your life yet, amidst judgment, a glimmer of grace prophesied in whispers. To the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow in conception, in pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. And to the serpent, he uttered the promise that reverberates through eternity, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." In that sacred moment, the promise of redemption began to unfurl within the chaos, an assurance woven into the fabric of time itself, God's unfathomable love beckoning forth a way back from the brink of despair. As Adam named the shadows of grief and longing, the Lord clothed them with garments of skins, a foreshadowing of the ultimate sacrifice that awaited, a shadow of a sacrificial dawn yet to break. The echoes of Eden rang on. Hidden in the hearts of humankind lay the thirst for restoration, a yearning that transcended the darkness of sin. The deceiver laughed, his victory incomplete, sensing the sovereign hand of God at work, ready to shape destiny anew. But what lay beyond the horizon of despair? What divine narrative awaited in the tapestry of time? The promise of salvation neared its appointed hour, yet the shadows stirred. Was this the final chapter in the wearisome tale of rebellion, or the beginning of God's magnificent redemptive story? And it came to pass that the sun set over Eden, casting long shadows upon the ground, and the air grew heavy with sorrow. Adam and Eve, now cast from paradise, felt the weight of their reality pressing down upon them. Their hands, once nurtured by the gardens of delight, now shook with the realization of toil and labor. As they wandered into the wilderness beyond Eden, the Lord, in his infinite wisdom, began to reveal the breadth of their choices. "You shall return to the ground, for out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return," he declared solemnly, Genesis 3 verse 19. Each step they took was a testament to their new reality, filled with the thorns of labor and the thistles of grief. The seasons would change, and with each passing day, the promise of a seed would linger like the fragrance of the first blossoms. Yet, Adam and Eve were not alone in their sorrow. The adversary, emboldened by his deceitful triumph, slithered away into the darkness, plotting the downfall of creation still further. In the days that followed, Eve bore children, her pain a bitter reminder of the decree spoken over her, Genesis 3 verse 16. Amidst the cries of new life, she looked upon them with a mixture of hope and fear, knowing they were born into a fractured world. "I have acquired a man from the Lord," she exclaimed in wonder at the birth of Cain, Genesis 4 verse 1. But with each child came the weight of her and Adam's choice, a weight they could not escape. As Cain grew, he became adept at tilting the soil and gathering fruit, while Abel, a tender shepherd, watched over his flock. The shadows of jealousy stretched long, and the serpent, now lurking unseen, whispered lies into Cain's heart. "Do not be content with what you have, seek to elevate yourself above your brother," he urged, stoking the fire of resentment within him. One fateful day, as they offered sacrifices before the Lord, Abel's offering burned with favor, while Cain's remained stagnant before the divine gaze. Genesis 4 verses 3-5. Cain's heart twisted with rage, igniting a fury that overcame his reason. God, seeing the approach of malice, warned Cain, "If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. Its desire is for you, but you should rule over it." Genesis 4 verse 7. Yet Cain, consumed by the voice of his own anger and the whispers of the deceiver, attacked Abel in the field. The cry of blood spilled upon the ground echoed into the heavens, a lamentation that tore through the fabric of creation. With this act, sin, like a flood, seeped deeper into the hearts of man. But God, in his justice and mercy, sought out Cain, asking, "Where is Abel your brother?" Genesis 4 verse 9. The once harmonious fellowship now shattered as Cain lied, succumbing further to the darkness, his heart hardened by the fall. Yet, even amidst judgment, God sought to protect Cain, placing a mark upon him to shield him from harm, a testament of grace amid grief, a reminder that the story of redemption had not ended. The tapestry of God's sovereign plan began to weave through the threads of humanity's pain and sin, with the promise of the seed hovering still. The shadows of despair deepened, but within them glinted the light of hope. For what was to come remained veiled in mystery. What purpose did God have in the depths of this heartache? What divine promise awaited Genesis from a lineage marred by rebellion and sorrow? The echo of that sacred promise stirred like a whisper carried on the winds of time, drawing closer to its appointed hour. And it came to pass that as Cain wandered the earth, he settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden, where he built a city and named it after his son Enoch. Genesis 4 verses 16-17. Here, the weight of his deed bore heavy upon him, yet the generations began to multiply, and a new lineage emerged, woven with threads of both grace and consequence. As the years unfolded, the earth filled with the descendants of Cain. Among them, there arose a man named Lamech, bold and unyielding, who took for himself 2 wives, Adah and Zillah. Genesis 4 verse 19. Lamech began to boast of his might, saying to his wives, "He arises, the voice of man." And he sung a song of vengeance, declaring, "If Cain is avenged 7-fold, then Lamech 77-fold. Genesis 4 verses 23-24. His pride cast shadows deeper than those of his forefathers, for the whisper of sin grew ever louder in the hearts of men, but the heart of Adam and Eve remained tethered to the promise yet unfulfilled. From their suffering, Seth was born, whom Eve called appointed for the seed which God had promised in the place of Abel. Genesis 4 verse 25. And through this new line, the faithful began to call upon the name of the Lord. Genesis 4 verse 26. Herein lay the glimmer of hope, a remnant that would seek the face of God amidst the gathering darkness. In the days of Seth's descendants, a man named Enosh was born, and the faithful would lift their voices in prayer and worship. These were days tinged with uncertainty, yet they awaited with bated breath the coming of the one who would redeem the brokenness of creation. Meanwhile, the earth continued in its descent into chaos. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took wives for themselves, leading to a time when the wickedness of man was great upon the earth. Genesis 6 verses 1-2. The hearts of the sons of men turned away from their Creator and into the depths of their own depravity, and God looked upon the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. Genesis 6 verse 12. The cries of anguish rose like a dark cloud before his throne, and the Lord's Spirit would strive with man no longer. Genesis 6 verse 3. Yet amidst judgment loomed an echo of hope that was yet to be realized. As the heavens wept for the future of humanity, the Lord chose Noah, a man righteous and blameless in his generation. Through him, God decreed a new beginning, for he would establish his covenant with Noah, preserving a remnant through the flood. Genesis 6 verses 8-18. With the dimensions of the ark sketched in the heavens and the divine blueprint of redemption set in motion, Noah moved with perseverance, building in faith the vessel that would carry both judgment and mercy through the waters of destruction. Little did they know that in this act of obedience, the path was being paved for the seed of the woman, the promise of restoration unfolding even in the midst of chaos and despair. The mystery of God's plan thickened with every hammer's strike, drawing ever closer to its ultimate revelation. What lay ahead for the world, battered by its own rebellion? Would God's covenant hold firm despite humanity's unyielding sin? For even now, as the waters were prepared to rise, a promise stirred waiting to reveal the fullness of hope that God had ordained since the beginning. As Noah labored on the ark, the rain had yet to fall, and the air was thick with disbelief. He and his family faced the jeering of those who passed by, filled with scorn at the strange construction rising from the earth. "What madness is this?" they would cry. "Your God brings no flood." Yet Noah, unwavering, remained a faithful servant of the Lord, speaking words of warning, pleading with all who would listen to turn from their wicked ways. But the hearts of men were hardened, and laughter echoed against the sky as shadows deepened. In the hearts of those who pierced their ears to the voice of God's prophet, sin reigned supreme as it had in the days of Cain. The sons of men indulged in their perverse ways, and the daughters of men lived in beauty untouched by the shame of their choices. Little did they realize that the depths of their depravity measured only against God's perfect standard, and the Lord said to Noah, "I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on the earth shall die." Genesis 6 verse 17. Yet Noah knew the plan. Within the measurements of the ark lay the promise of preservation. As he bound the last plank, the skies grew heavy, pregnant with fury. The first drops of rain fell, soft and timid, before becoming a torrent that shook the very foundations of the earth. Howling winds echoed through the land, and clouds obscured the sun. As the waters began to rise, a great urgency filled the hearts of those within the ark. "Come into the ark, you and your household," the Lord commanded Noah, giving him a mission to restore the fragile thread of humanity. Genesis 7 verse 1. Each creature, both great and small, made its way to the vessel, according to the design of the Almighty. 2 by 2 they came, as if driven by an unseen hand, fulfilling the word of God spoken through Noah. The door of the ark was shut, sealing in hope within a world that had chosen darkness, yet as the rain fell and the fountains of the deep were opened, there was a widespread lament, cries that tore through the heavens and echoed, unmet, against the solid walls of the ark. Those outside reached for mercy, but it was too late, and the floodwaters surged high, consuming the land, erasing the wickedness that had filled it. For 40 days and nights, the earth lay submerged beneath the judgment of God, and amidst the tumult, the ark floated, a sanctuary of grace amidst divine wrath. Within its walls, Noah and his family prayed and worshipped the Lord, recalling the promises spoken and knowing that there would be a future beyond the flood. Then the waters began to recede, and the ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. Genesis 8 verse 4. As hope dawned anew, Noah recognized the faithfulness of his God, who would establish a covenant with him. "I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood." Genesis 9 verse 11. The rainbow would serve as a sign of this everlasting promise, a memorial of divine mercy, but still, the mystery of redemption lingered in the air. Would this new beginning birth a new creation free from sin? Or would the hearts of men seek rebellion anew? As the world outside the ark began to dry, the hearts of Noah's sons awaited the call of destiny. For even in salvation, trouble brewed, and God's plan began to unfurl with even more profound implications, a reckoning that would touch the generations to come. Thus the curtain raised on a new chapter, one shrouded in divine purpose, as shadows and light clashed again. What awaited the children of Noah as they stepped into a world reborn? What legacy would they leave that would echo through the ages? The echoes of the past lingered, and the question remained, was this the true reset of God's design, or was a deeper truth yet to come? As the waters ceased their tumultuous rage and the ark rested securely amidst the mountains of Ararat, the sun began to break through the remnant clouds, casting a golden hue upon the land. In the stillness of that moment, Noah emerged upon the open deck of the ark, the air thick with the scent of fresh earth and the remnants of divine judgment. Noah lifted his eyes to the heavens, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Praise be to the Lord!" he cried, his voice reverberating in the silence. "For he has delivered us. His mercy prevails." His family joined him, their faces marked with weariness yet shining with the light of hope. Step by step, they descended from the ark, the ground solid beneath their feet, the very ground that had been lost to the waters of destruction. As Noah placed his foot on the earth, he breathed deeply, and the promise of God echoed in his spirit, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." Genesis 9 verse 1, Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, each took to the land with fervor, seeking to reclaim the world anew. They explored the surrounding landscape, the remnants of the flood still visible in the deep marks upon the ground. Yet within the joy of renewal, there lay an undercurrent of apprehension. What awaited this new world unlettered by sowing good seed of faith and righteousness? In the hours that followed, the family kindled a fire and offered sacrifices of thanksgiving to God, a fragrant offering rising to the skies. Genesis 8 verse 20. As smoke curled heavenward, Noah prayed for guidance, for wisdom in leading his family and a way to nurture the earth that once lay under doom. The Lord's presence enveloped him, assuring Noah of his ever-watchful care, but darkness lingered in the hearts of men. Though the flood had washed the earth clean, the hearts within the new generation were yet to be tested. What will be their choices? Noah pondered, sensing an inevitable struggle between light and shadow unfolding ahead. Soon, as the days turned to weeks, the environment began to restore itself. Trees began to bud, flowers blossomed in colors bright, while birds filled the air, rejoicing in the promise of new life. God had indeed remembered his covenant. Yet, among the burgeoning creation, a shadow began to whisper in the hearts of men. Ham, impetuous and curious, found himself wandering away from the shelter of his father's teachings. In the solitude of the forests untouched by the flood, he encountered a vision, a figure shrouded in magnificent splendor, bearing an otherworldly glow. "I am the bearer of enlightenment," the figure proclaimed, his voice like a silken caress. "Come, follow me, and I shall open your eyes to truths of the world." Ham's heart raced at the prospect of knowledge, of power, and in that moment, the serpent's words were echoed, "You will be like God, knowing good and evil." Genesis 3 verse 5. Little did he know, it was the very adversary of souls who had cast his net once more upon the shore of mankind. Meanwhile, Noah turned towards the horizon, feeling the weight of a growing dread. A new chapter awaited, yet within it lay untold challenges as shadows began to stir once again within the heart of humankind. The promise of God intertwined with the fragility of their choices, and the legacy of Noah's family hung in the balance. What awaited this new world filled with possibility? Would it stray into the darkness of rebellion, or would they cling to the light carved by their forefathers? While the ark had delivered them from the flood, the greater flood of sin awaited, ready to confront the very foundations of faith laid anew. The warning remained clear that this world was not free from the temptation of the sly serpent. Bit by bit, the grand design of the Almighty began to reveal itself. Was it the restoration of humanity, or a lingering thread of the divine tapestry yet to be woven? As the echoes of the past mixed with the winds of the future, a profound question lingered, a call to arms in the face of impending choices. Whose voice would they heed in this new beginning? As the days stretched onward, Noah's heart remained heavy with the weight of his foreboding thoughts. "What shadows," he muttered to himself, as he watched Ham wander further into the woods, drawn by the siren call of temptation. The other sons worked diligently with their father in constructing dwellings and planting seed in the newly fertile earth, yet Ham had ventured far from them, seeking solace in isolation rather than communion. The world around them began to flourish in response to their labor. The soil yielded crops, grass carpeted the hills, and the sound of streams resonated with laughter and song. Yet Noah sensed a conflict brewing, a tumult beneath the surface of this apparent tranquility. He called his family together one evening, the sun setting behind the towering mountains, casting long shadows that danced upon their assembly. "Let us gather," he spoke with grave sincerity. "For the Lord has instructed us to be mindful and vigilant. The adversary does not rest, even as we strive for righteousness." He felt the stirring of the Spirit within him, urging him to speak forth truth amidst the rising tide of distraction. Shem, full of earnestness, replied, "Father, I have seen Ham speak with strange presences in the woods. He returns with a glimmer in his eye, as though the knowledge he seeks is not of God." Noah's gaze turned somber. A heart drawn toward allurements can easily be led astray. We must pray for his return, lest he fall into the snares of the enemy. Thus, Noah led his family in solemn prayer, lifting their voices to the heavens together, seeking divine intervention for Ham. Meanwhile, within the forest's depths, Ham found himself enraptured by the enigmatic presence he had encountered. "You need not fear," the luminous figure assured, I guide you toward enlightenment. Knowledge shrouded in limitation shall be cast aside, and you shall know the secret of creation. In that moment, Ham was ensnared, mesmerized by the words of the false illuminator. The vessel of temptation revealed splendid visions of power, a false glory that promised dominion over the world. Desperation gripped Ham's heart, for within him grew a desire unattainable yet enticing. "What must I do?" he asked, his voice trembling yet eager. "Obey me," the figure commanded, "and the curtain of ignorance shall be torn asunder. Come, let us build a kingdom unbound." As day broke once more over the land, Noah and his family, anchored in faith, decided to embark upon a search for Ham. They traversed through trees that whispered the promise of new beginnings, calling their son's name into the air. "Ham! Return!" echoed Shem, the sound mingling with the soft rustle of leaves. Days turned to despair as Ham, lost in a haze of ambition, succumbed fully to the shadow of the alluring figure. Darkness enveloped him, and the very essence of his being began to unravel beneath the weight of unholy knowledge. He was trapped in a labyrinth of deceit. Simultaneously, in the heavens, the angels watched. A celestial murmur arose, for they perceived the danger looming over the remnant of humanity, this new breed, naive yet resilient. As their faith was tested, a divine messenger moved forth, sent to intercede for the lineage of Noah. "Fear not," came the voice of the Lord, "for through Noah shall the blessings of compassion flow, and through them, my covenant shall be renewed, even amid dire circumstances." Meanwhile, the very design of the adversary continued to unfurl a plot woven to entrap the hearts of man once more. What awaited this fractured family? Would the beacon of hope loom large enough to pierce the gathering darkness? In a world crying out for restoration amid its rising shadows, Noah's legacy stood precariously balanced. In the heart of the forest, a reckoning awaited, one that would either yield revival or descent into chaos. The stage was set, and the clock was ticking. What choice would Ham make? The consequences of faith and rebellion hung heavily in the air, as the ultimate clash of obedience and defiance approached. Would the appointment of God's promises usher in a new dawn, or would the chains of the past tighten their grip once more upon humanity? As the sun dipped low, the murmurs of the Eternal echoed through creation, whispering a mystery still veiled. The yet unfulfilled plan of the Almighty began to stir anew. As the sun rose upon the third day of Ham's wandering, the forest held its breath. The birds, once jubilant in song, seemed muted, as if foreseeing the peril that awaited. Noah and his sons, hearts burdened with worry, sought the deep places of the woodland, calling Ham's name with each step, their voices mingled with fervent prayers. "Father," said Japheth, "perhaps we should split our search. I shall venture deeper towards the east, while Shem and you explore the western thickets." With reluctant agreement, Noah nodded, sensing the urgency thrumming in their hearts. Each son took separate paths, weaving through the undergrowth, their faith a light piercing the encroaching shadows. Yet as they called for Ham, an oppressive silence hung heavily, pregnant with unease. Meanwhile, in the depths of the ethereal realm, Ham remained ensnared by the luminous figure. "You are chosen," it breathed with honeyed tones. "In you lies the power to transcend the boundaries of the flesh. Embrace this truth, and the world shall kneel before you." Every word was like a thread, weaving deeper into his soul, breaking down the walls of reason. The allure intoxicated him, promising not just knowledge, but power, a self-made empire where he would reign supreme. "What shall I sacrifice for this dominion?" he whispered, spellbound. "Your allegiance and nothing more. Only yield your trust to me, and your vision shall expand beyond comprehension." Within that dark overture, Ham's heart fluttered between dread and desire. Yet unsettled visions flickered behind his eyes, moments with his father and brothers, the laughter shared in unity, the fires of faith binding them together. But the figure's whisper pierced through this heartache. "Those who cling to the past shall remain forever bound. Do not mourn what is lost, embrace what you shall gain." Just as despair settled into the depths of his soul, an unexpected rustle approached, breaking the veil of silence. Noah, torn between dread for his son and the flicker of hope that clung tenaciously to his spirit, called out once more, "Ham! My son! We seek you in love, return to us. The figure's countenance faltered, revealing a momentary flash of displeasure. No. They would hinder your ascent. This love is a chains until you are free. But suddenly, inside Ham's heart, a flicker ignited. Memories of laughter around the table, the pearl-filled evenings beneath the stars, the steadfastness of his father's faith, began to rise above the veil of deceit. A decision loomed within him, suspended by the weight of two worlds, the truth he had known and the false kingdom being offered. At that moment, Noah's voice reached him again. Your place is with us, Ham. Redemption awaits. Those words fell upon Ham like a shower of grace, breaking through the mist of illusion that had held him captive. Doubt and fear battled within him, yet the longing for return, for reconciliation, swelled until it was undeniable. No. The figure roared, its light flickering with wrath. You belong to me. Resolute, Ham took a step back, his heart pounding. No. I will not follow you. In that instant, a great shift occurred. The forest grew still as if creation paused to witness this critical juncture. Thunder rumbled in the heavens, and a light shone through the branches, illuminating the path back to his family. As the figure howled in fury, Ham turned and ran, rushing towards the voices of his kin, where mercy awaited. While the heavens bore witness to the struggle, the angels, sent as messengers to protect the lineage of Noah, rejoiced, knowing that in this choice lay deeper truths yet to unfold. What awaited in the depths of Ham's heart? Would he emerge transformed from the shadows into the fullness of grace, or would the specter of rebellion linger, seeking to reclaim its grip? As dawn approached, the world trembled on the cusp of new beginnings, and the echoes of divine purpose thrummed in the air, a bold whisper reminding all that deeper mysteries awaited, even in the darkest of choices. As Ham fled through the thicket, the anguished cries of the luminous figure faded into the air, replaced by the fervent calls of his father and brothers. Each step was a tumult of emotions, relief and trepidation twisted within him as he fought through branches thick with the forest's darkness. Light filtered down, casting shadows that flickered, as if the very essence of creation rejoiced upon his awakening. Ham! Come back to us. Noah's voice pierced through the underbrush once more, resonating with love and urgency that brought tears to Ham's eyes. The very nature of his being longed to return, to be enveloped once again in the safety of his family's embrace. With a final burst of strength, Ham broke into a clearing and stumbled upon his father's outstretched arms. Noah embraced him tightly, the warmth of his love igniting a flame of hope in Ham's heart. My son! You have returned. Noah's voice quivered with relief, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Shem and Japheth rushed forth, their faces a mixture of fear and joy, the bond of brotherhood thickening in the air. We thought we had lost you, exclaimed Shem, gripping Ham's shoulders, searching his face for signs of change. Brushing back the trembling fear within him, Ham breathed, I was lost, but the shadows spoke to me, and I have seen the depths of darkness. I chose to return. His voice trembled as he recounted his encounter, sharing the intoxication of power that had so nearly ensnared him. Japheth, bearing the weight of sympathy, replied solemnly, in our weakness, temptation stalks us relentlessly, yet the Lord's love calls, even into the depths of despair. Their words bore witness to the miracle unfolding, a redemption still flowing through Ham's veins, but even as joy surged within him, the shadow of the figure lingered in his mind. A question gnawed at him, would this darkness relent? Would he be truly free from that which sought to reclaim him? Do not fear, Ham, Noah spoke gently, sensing the turmoil in his son's heart. For the Lord watches over us, as it is written in Psalm 121, the Lord will keep you from all evil, he will keep your life. Trust in his promise, for you are not alone. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue upon the three sons gathered close to their father, surrounding the newly restored Ham. A weight seemed to lift from their hearts, yet an undercurrent of urgency pulsated through the forest, whispering secrets still hidden. At that moment, the very air around them quivered, a faint whisper borne on the wind, speaking of challenges yet to come. Ham's heart raced as he felt a communion within creation. It was as if the earth herself recoiled in anticipation of the trials approaching. "Let us return home," Noah commanded, his voice firm, but tender, leading his sons back through the winding paths to the safety of their dwelling. Yet as Ham walked beside them, his spirit danced between fear and hope. The memory of that flickering light hovering in his thoughts like a sunken ship beneath the waves. Could grace truly redeem even the darkest of hearts? The brothers ventured onward, yet a vibrant truth lingered. Ham now awakened, not just to the gift of family, but to the profound reality of choice, the celestial dance between light and dark, a mystery not yet fulfilled. What awaited their return to unity, and how would the unseen hand of God weave this tale of conflict into a tapestry of divine purpose? The air was alive with unanswered questions, a testament that the unfolding journey through shadows would test their faith in ways yet unimagined, leading them toward the realization of the promise that had been whispered through the ages, unraveling the sovereign plan beyond their comprehension. And so it was, in the fullness of time, the looming shadows of temptation receded, and within the hearts of Noah and his sons, a resolute commitment bloomed anew. The lessons of despair carved deep grooves of humility within their souls, for they understood that the choice between light and darkness was not merely a moment, but a journey woven through the fabric of faith. As they returned to the familiar embrace of their dwelling, the air shimmered with an expectancy. Ham, forever changed by the brush with darkness, grasped the hand of his father with newfound fervor, the weight of their shared experience binding them tighter than any earthly bond. "I will weave my life in the hope of our God," he declared, a testament echoing through the chambers of his heart, which now thrummed with purpose. Noah, surveying his sons, realized the weight of legacy resting upon them, for they stood at the precipice of a new beginning, a charge handed down from generations before. "Let us build an altar to the Lord," he proclaimed, an act of reverence emblematic of gratitude for the grace bestowed upon them. United, the family forged not only physical structures from the earth's bounty, but bold commitments to live out the principles of faith amidst the uncertainties that lay ahead. Together they laid stones to form the altar, each placing their hands upon it, offering prayers of thanksgiving, petitions for guidance, and cries for strength. The wind seemed to hush in reverence as their words rose like incense to the heavens. "We acknowledge our past, O Lord," Noah prayed, "and we ask for mercy in our present and clarity for our future. Let your light guide our paths, lead us back to you even when the dark whispers tempt us from within." As the fire blazed brightly upon the altar, a radiant light illuminated the night sky, casting shimmering reflections upon the valleys below. The fragrance of burnt offerings wafted upward, signaling divine communion. The Lord watched, his heart full, as a vow slipped into existence, a vow binding heaven and earth across transgressions and redemptions, carrying the promise of the coming seed that would crush the head of the serpent. Days turned to weeks as the earth blossomed under the tender care of Noah's family, yet they knew that lurking always were temptations seeking to unearth old wounds. They labored diligently in sustenance, while Ham sought the counsel of wisdom from both his father and brothers, faithfully guarding his heart against the siren calls of uncertainty. He sought meaning in labor, drawing strength not only from the soil but from the Spirit, whispering deep into his soul a new understanding that he was never truly alone. As time pressed onward, the generations multiplied, and a great cacophony of life filled the air. The earth pulsed with the vibrancy of creation as the echoes of laughter, toil, and the honest prayer intertwined, solidifying a new legacy that imprinted the story of redemption upon each heart. Noah, now an elder, watched as each son brought forth their own families, understanding that the current of his choices flowed through them. Yet, the ever-watchful adversary lay in wait, his schemes newly fashioned in the hearts of men. Even so, amidst this reality, the covenant continued, unfurling toward an extraordinary fulfillment, a reminder that though shadows might cover the earth, the dawn of hope had already broken into the world. It was then that the Lord spoke directly to Noah: "A new covenant will come forth, focused upon the promise made long ago. In your descendants shall the righteous rise despite the trials ahead." The words resonated like thunder within Noah's spirit, reminding him that through the years, the seed he had awaited brought the assurance of future reconciliation. With joy mingling deeply in his heart, Noah recounted the miracles of provision and strength God had bestowed upon their family. "We will mark this day," he declared. "Each feast will remind us of his grace, a tether binding us to the truth that the seed shall bring forth unspeakable salvation." Each season henceforth held significance, as they gathered to convene under the banner of promise, each meal a testament to the faithfulness woven through the history laid before them. As he knelt that evening in prayer, the heavens opened, and Noah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over him. The grand design of redemption unfurled like blooming petals before the Creator's gaze, opening windows into the future that lay beyond the stars. Your people will remember, he prayed, with each passing generation, for you will not forsake us, you remain the great I Am. May this covenant forever guide our hearts to walk ever closer to you. With faith ignited anew, and unrestrained reverence for the unfolding plan, the family of Noah sang hymns into the night, a melody woven from hope and redemption. Through their voices, rich with the weight of their experiences, the promise echoed anew across the earth, heralding a future that shimmered with the light of reconciliation and grace. Thus, as the pages of history turned, a promise made in the shadow of a garden and fulfilled on an altar, called forth a redemptive plan destined to vibrate through the corridors of eternity. Humanity remained given the choice to embrace the light illuminating their path or to yield to the shadows lingering just beyond their sight. The legacy of Noah, a tapestry of faith woven through trials and triumph, continued to inspire generations, for in each heart lay an echo of the truth. The seed had come forth, and the dawn of salvation ushered hope for all who dwelled upon the earth who would heed the call to return to him. Let the voices of those who witnessed this covenant resonate as conduits of faith, carrying the burden of his promise across the border of every heart, so all may find solace within his embrace. And as this chapter concludes, may you also find joy and strength in your own story, inviting the same promises to light your path. Now, dear friends, seize this moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next powerful biblical stories that enrich your soul. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm of his divine truth. Comment your reflections below and share with us how this biblical story has impacted your faith. Finally, do not wait one more second. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear the transformative truth of God's love and redemption. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's word, for every action you take helps reach more souls for Christ.